Welcome to the Depth Dive. Today we're digging into a really interesting piece of communication that was shared with us. It's just a single source, but it gives this very distinct perspective on history and, well, current events in a pretty sensitive part of the world. So our mission here is just to carefully unpack what it actually says, the core arguments, the viewpoints. We want you to understand the message itself without us, endorsing it.
Yeah, and what's fascinating, I think, is how it weaves together really ancient history with things happening right now. It presents this very specific interpretation, and it's a great example of how narratives get built to push a particular viewpoint.
Absolutely. That weaving is key. So, okay, let's jump in. Right at the start, it makes this striking historical reference. It says it marks the day Moses and Israel has been saved from Pharaoh. And it points out that Muslims celebrate it by fasting. But then it just pivots, like immediately. It says, unfortunately, Israel doesn't appreciate that from the Muslims and bring hate and kill them. And then asserts they should live together in harmony as God saved you at Israel.
Right. And that's a classic rhetorical technique, isn't it?
Yeah.
By bringing up this shared history, this, common Abrahamic story,
Mm-hmm.
the source is trying to create a kind of moral obligation for harmony now. It's basically saying, look, deviating from this is like betraying God's will or history itself. It's an appeal to, a higher authority using history to condemn what's happening today and demand something specific.
Okay, so it lays that foundation first. History, morality.
Yeah, sets the stage.
Then it shifts gears pretty hard to current events, specifically what it calls the Ak7 operation. And it gives a very specific reason or intent behind it. It says quite explicitly this operation was to free their land and be independent and didn't want to kill innocents, but to take hostages might work.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a specific framing of why it happened.
It is. And this really raises a huge question about how the source defines innocence and legitimate statehood, too. It gives this very particular justification, saying, and this is a direct quote again, I can't say occupier of a land is innocent unless they got an independent state with justice by majority of vote.
Wow, okay.
So that's critical. The source is essentially redefining who counts as innocent. It's suggesting that in what it sees as an occupation, civilian immunity isn't automatic. It depends on, state legitimacy, democratic mandate.
Right, which clashes pretty heavily with, say, standard international law interpretations.
Oh, absolutely. International humanitarian law generally considers non-combatants innocent, regardless of the politics or the, disputed nature of the land. This source directly challenges that.
Okay, so after that justification, it escalates again with accusations about what's happening now. It doesn't hold back at all. It says directly, you kill all Gaza and hostages and keep invading. That language is, incredibly stark. Accusatory.
It really is. It's a collective accusation, right? Blaming an entire group. And it implies a total disregard for life, for international norms. And then right at the end, the message includes at UN.
Ah, yeah.
That's not just like a throwaway tag. It strongly suggests this whole thing is meant as an appeal or maybe a statement aimed right at the United Nations. It looks like an attempt to engage, maybe get legitimacy, maybe seek intervention from an international body.
So wrapping up our deep dive today, what we've looked at is this very concise, very direct message. It offers a really specific and strongly worded take on history and current events. We've tried to just break down its claims, its arguments about intent, actions, and sort of the way it argues its case.
Mm-hmm. And if you connect this to the bigger picture, it just highlights how these deeply held historical stories, these specific ideas about justice, can really shape how people see conflicts today. Understanding the actual arguments, the language used, the rhetorical choices within messages like this. Well, it's crucial if you want to grasp the complexities of global conversations around these issues. So maybe something for you to think about is, what really stands out to you when you see historical references being used like this to frame or explain events happening right now?